to the DrVtach Show. This podcast is a long-form conversation hosted by DrVtach with the top guests in the world of esports. All from owners, pros, semi-pros, former pros, and content creators of many games. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the DrVtach Show. Well, today we have a special guest. This is going to be a really serious episode because we got a lot of things to talk about. And all I hear about this gentleman is really good things. He's a guy that really cares about esports, loves gaming, very devoted, and he's very inspirational to a lot of players. So guys, I'm gonna introduce you to DNA. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. So how's life treating you?
I mean, life itself is good. You know, there's air in my lungs, and you know, just another day to try to make an impact somewhere out there. You know, and life is good. So can't complain too much. So
that's good. Now, are you? I know you're a former Mirage manager / analyst. So, what's gone with that? You're away from Mirage. You're no longer with that organization, or are you going into a different type of organization? What is your path right now?
Yeah, no, I'm no longer with Mirage. I stepped away over this last bit of we'll just say rocky roads that we had there. But yeah, I was the started there as a team manager or as an analyst, and then took on the team manager role and did both as the team manager and then the head analyst. But yeah, so I stepped away from that. As far as my path going forward, I don't know. I have some things in the works possibly, but we'll have to see what pans out. I'm not really sure which way it's going to take me yet.
Okay. Well, I hope you still stay in the esports community. Because,
yeah, I'll be around either way. Like I've always offered to help. There's a lot of kids, you know, and young adults that have hit me up in messages and asked to look at their stuff and give them some tips or some insights. And I'll still be doing that until, you know, forever. So I'll still be here, whether it's in the shadows or, you know, on the stage. But I'll be around.
Now, question: you have a son that plays as well, right?
Yeah, my son Zach. He's known in the community as Nix. He's an ex-pro player, currently in the trenches of T2, T3, trying to make it back to T1. So, but yeah, he's been doing that since. I mean, he's been playing games his whole life too. So, you know, he's been playing games 4 years old on Xbox. He was beating games that I was like, wow, you know, so definitely had a love and a passion and a skill set for it. So
yeah, usually the kids they outsmart their parents. I don't know, for some odd reason my son just like when I play Fortnite with him, he's like, Dad, come here, give me the controller, you're gonna die. I was like, what? So they get really good at it. They do phenomenal. So I'm like, man. So how you started gaming? How this all started with you?
I loved games from the very beginning, and I started on consoles, obviously way back in the day, because I'm a dinosaur. So, but I loved games, and I loved the escape that they kind of provided, to, you know, just cutting away from life and whatever was going on, and, you know, escaping into a game. And so I started playing on consoles and fell in love with games. And in my early teens, I got involved in some Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition mainly, and would play that. I wouldn't say competitively, but it was competitively. There was no, you know, esports scene back then. It was very, very small, very tiny. But you could go down to the local arcade and enter in some tournaments that they did, you know, on the weekends and play there. And me and my buddy did that, and we were pretty good. We'd go down to the arcade, and we'd, you know, spend the whole weekend down there just playing in these different tournaments. And sometimes we'd win, sometimes we'd lose, just like in anything in esports. So it was a lot of fun, and I loved the competitive nature of it.
Oh yeah, I remember those days of Street Fighter and the first Mortal Kombat when that came out, and that was just like it was so fun. It was like, I don't know, it was just a gathering of all people try to get there and to play and compete. And the prize pool wasn't that much, but it was just so much fun just to compete.
Oh yeah.
And you meet people and play with other players that love the same game you love and get really passionate about it. Yeah. And now it's grown. It's so big. Esports right now is just like, it's like all around the world. I just did not long ago, I did an episode with Fatality.
Okay.
And that guy was amazing, and how he's one of like the founders of esports. I mean, this guy is a legend.
Right.
Winning 12 times, 12 championships in 5 different games. And I'm like, geez Louise.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Very impressive. Very impressive. So you went there and you went on to competing and you played a little bit. And then how was it you got into Rainbow Six?
Rainbow Six obviously came much later, but I got into the transition from the consoles to more PC when I was about 18. I lost my dad at a pretty young age. He was 37, and I was 18. And
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, but yeah, it was a rough thing to go through as a just becoming a man myself and losing my dad. So I kind of turned to the computers again as that escape, right? That escape to kind of take your attention away from what was going on and find something to channel into something positive. And so I got into computer gaming and started playing in computer gaming and got into some kind of entry level programming, working with Visual Basics. Back then it was like Visual Basics 3 and then 4, 5, and 6. Got involved with a group that did things that targeted, we'll just say, not so kind people on the internet that were doing things that they shouldn't have been doing, and making basically they're not doing anything illegal, but just making it to where we made their life, that what they were trying to do online, what they were trying to accomplish, a lot more difficult. I won't go into a whole lot of details about that, but it was a noble act. So these people that they were targeting were not good people, and they were doing some stuff that they should not be doing. So it was kind of gave me my first taste of like programming and seeing like what the computer could do. So stuck with computers from then on and just started building and learning as much as I could, and then building gaming PCs, which transitioned into gaming. So, and eventually that led to Rainbow Six Siege. I mean, my nephew, who's also in Pro League, HotanCold, he was the first person that I believe he had the game in beta, and he's like, "Oh, you got to check this game out. This game's awesome," And so me and my son, we got the game. We started playing, and Matt actually signed with a team very very early on, very early stages of Pro League, and which ultimately ended up becoming Flipside Tactics. And I wanted a way to help him. So like I said, hey, like maybe I could do some analytic stuff, track what you guys are doing well, what the other team's doing not so well. And that kind of just opened the door, and it just snowballed from there.
Wow. I didn't know HotanCold was your nephew. Crazy.
He is. We are. There's no blood relation, but that's my nephew. I held him the day he was born. So, good kid. Yep, good kid, and yeah. So I mean, he's
very good and very well known.
Yep. Yeah. So
what team is he on right now?
He's with Beast Coast now, I believe.
Beast Coast, yes, I know. Now it's like, wait, HotanCold. I'm trying to figure out. I thought he was for a moment as Space Station Gaming, and I'm like, okay,
Yep.
no.
He was with DarkZero. He went with Nyx to DarkZero when DarkZero came into the league. So it was Mint.
Okay.
I think it was a Mint, Jarvis, and Matt, HotanCold, Nyx, and Pojo Man, I believe. So that was the original roster of DarkZero when DarkZero made their splash into the Rainbow Six Siege and bought or took over what was at the time the SK roster, which came from Flipside. So Flipside to SK and then SK to DarkZero.
Wow. I bet you're proud of them, your son and your.
Yeah, I'm proud. I'm proud of everything that they've accomplished, and I wish them both nothing but the best going forward too. So
Yeah, it's a good career getting into gaming, esports, and choosing that as a profession. If you're good at it, you have the skills, go for it 100%.
yeah, that's the number one question I get asked by parents, because I talk to a lot of parents when we were going to events and stuff, and I get a lot of parents that would come up to me and ask me that exact question, and some of them would even lead with like, how can you let your son spend all this time in a game? Because that generation, my generation, I think you're around my age, so our generation, our parents saw games as nothing but a waste of time. Go outside, dig a hole was more productive to them than playing a game. And I give them the same answer, and it's any parents that have kids that are interested in esports or want to pursue streaming, or whatever, I tell them the same thing. Like, these kids, they have their entire life to be a sheep. That's basically the best way I could explain it. They have their entire life to fall in line and just do the norm. Chase your dream. If you think you got it, chase it. Don't let anybody tell you can't. But be it responsibly. Have a backup plan. Have something put in place, because even if you make it, which is going to be rough, it's going to be hard, it's going to be gone as quick as you got it. That's what I tell. That's what I tell all these parents. So have a backup plan. You got a lot of these guys in the league and Siege that went to school and got degrees while they were playing. I know other guys that have made financial investments with their money and put it towards their future, which is great. So just have a backup plan, and you got your whole life to fall in line and do the quote unquote norm.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. There's some people that I know, and they're players, and I always tell them, have a backup plan, because if this doesn't work out to like the way you want it, what are you going to do afterwards? There's always community college you could go to, study, do something, because at the end of the day, this is not going to be something you're going to be in it for 20 years.
Right.
A lot of these pro players, they join an organization, excuse me, they join an organization, and once they hit that pro league level and they're T1 and they made it finally, but then they start feeling they're walking on eggshells, because anything could happen. They could get dropped.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait 1 second. Now you're not getting paid no more. Now you're no longer with an organization. Now you're a free agent. What are you gonna do now?
Right.
So they feel it. They feel the pressure. They have to perform 100% all the time. And if they don't, they're gonna get dropped. They're gonna get kicked. And you don't know when ever you're gonna get picked up again. You just don't know.
You don't. You're absolutely right. It's
a lot of these guys feel that. They feel that pressure, and they just like, they don't know how to manage it. They don't know how to manage it, and they don't know.
Yeah, no. There is a big mental tax that this scene and this business puts on young adults and these young kids that are just coming into life, basically, and it's it can be extremely taxing mentally. A lot of pressure to perform, pressure to stay relevant, to prove to people, like I've heard of all, I've seen it all. I've seen a lot of different mental stuff that a lot of these kids and young adults go through.
Now, talking about to prove themselves, there's something I want to touch up on is that we know that Mirage is no longer in the scene, as we could read due to what Blast posted on Twitter. And there were some players that were going to play in position for Mirage because Mirage did not have a roster.
Okay.
Correct. Now,
yeah, I don't know a lot of the back end dealings of what that was in because I wasn't managing the team at that point. I know some information about that, but my understanding is that they had not secured a roster. Correct.
Yeah, allegedly they didn't have a roster secured, and there was another group that were going to take over and play for the team. But then everybody was like, don't play. Now, my thing is, that's not the players' fault. I think those players that they were going to play and for the position for Mirage, they should have given them the chance to play because that's how they're going to earn their spotlight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I understand that, but I think Ubisoft is put in and I can't speak for them. I'm just speculating. I think Ubisoft was put in a position where, again, this is my speculation.
Correct.
Whatever happened, and because I don't know the talkings of what was going on between Ubisoft and Mirage behind closed doors, but let's just make the assumption that Ubisoft was not happy with the Mirage image in the league. They obviously have contracts and stuff on their end, so I'm not sure that their hands were completely open to just do whatever they wanted to do. I think their hands were a little tied here in this situation, and a lot of people put a lot of negativity on Ubisoft that they should have done something, but again, we don't understand all the stuff that's going on behind closed doors.
Yeah.
I do know part of their contract for Mirage was to field a eligible roster to compete, and that was a violation of the contract, which I'm guessing opened the door for Ubisoft to be able to remove Mirage from the league. So if you take that and you process that whole thing in an analytical way, we're removing Mirage because they can't field a roster, but then we're going to let the roster that they were going to field play in the league. It kind of contradicts the reason why they're removed from Mirage, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it was. They can't play. They can't play because they didn't have a roster. Oh, but here's the roster. We're going to let them play. So I think their hands were kind of tied in the actual context of the reason for removing Mirage. But I agree with what you're saying. Those players and creators, who's the coach of that team, Tim, me and him work together at Tempo Storm. And he's come to my daughter's volleyball game. We have a connection outside of the game a little bit. And, we've kept in contact over the years because I've always taken a very strong interest in some of these players. It's almost like a fatherly figure or role to these kids and these young adults because I am much older than them, and they do come to me for some questions and some advice, whether it be esports related or just life related. And those guys took a huge stand because ultimately I think what happened is they did not sign the contract, and they said, nope, we're not playing. So they took an opportunity that they had in front of them and stood on the moral grounds of we're not going to do this because this isn't right that this is happening. And that's a lot for some of these because some of these kids, they just want none of these guys I'm saying, but there's some people out there that just want the clout, right? They just want the spot, they just want the opportunity, they just want to say that they played in T1, they're a professional. But these guys, they didn't do that. And I can say that I've heard conversations between people that have said, I'll just get 5 anybody's that will play because they just want the spot.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say who said what, but I'm sure you can read between the lines, and obviously that's not the case because that's not what happened.
Yeah, it's a really unfortunate situation. I can't imagine what these players go through and what what they're being put on. It's a lot of stress. And for them, I kind of like, man, I wish they would have played. It would have had some fun. Now the NA doesn't have all their stacks. So now I think they had to rearrange everything, who's going to be playing against who and what. And it's just like, it's very unbalanced. So I just feel kind of bad. I just really wish these guys were out there playing. Some say, well, they're not going to get paid. Well, you know what? They're still not getting paid. Playing or not playing, they're not getting paid no matter what. So at least if they're playing, they're having fun and they're getting their name out there. People are watching them. People are seeing them, and they could prove themselves, hey, I'm really good. This is me. And probably there's another org going to say, you know what? I want that guy.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I mean by these guys taking a stand, because that's the mentality that a lot of players would have, and they chose not to, because it wasn't about them as individuals. It was about them standing up for what they thought was right, because maybe they're not going to get paid, but when orgs, and I'm not going to single out any particular org, but when orgs do that to players, or because this isn't the first time we've heard of orgs having issues with payments to players in various esports, but it's kind of a form of almost exploitation, exploiting these kids, because they're dangling that carrot in front of them. Hey, come play for me. You got this opportunity. We can be the stepping stone for your career. But at the meantime, you don't know what these guys are profiting on the back end of these kids' hard work, and then only to put maybe, because some of these people, maybe they put college on hold, maybe they stop taking a job, or they don't go into the military, or they move their life around on the expectations that, hey, I'm going to get this shot and I'm going to put my name out there. And at the end of the day, they didn't have the impact they wanted to have. They didn't get paid, and then they got dropped from a team that's not going to pay them. So it sounds good in the beginning, but in the end, they're left holding their hand, going like, now what? So. And that's what I was trying to stop with my final outreach of what I was having. I was tired of seeing that happen to some people. So
yeah, it's crazy. It's sad. I mean, I don't know what Ubisoft is going to start doing now. I'm sure they're going to probably change something due to what happened. They may or may not. I don't know. I'm sure they would. I'm sure they are. They're going to put more of these organizations accountable for their actions and do something, because it is a sad thing. This is not good. It is not good what these players went through with Mirage, and it appears to be that some haven't gotten paid, some have, or what. I don't know. I'm just assuming. But I wish everything gets resolved. I wish a lot of these players that are complaining that didn't get paid on the long run. Just end this. Just end this and get it done and over with. I know you've been trying to work everything out. You were more like the peacemaker between the players and the owner. So I was like,
and at the end of the day, I kind of felt used myself, because I felt like I was being held hostage in a way, because I obviously was owed money as well. And it just got to a point where I felt like if I walk away from this, I'm walking away from all this money. I'm walking away from these young adults and these kids. I'm walking away from all of that. And so I kind of felt like I had to stay. And then I had, because I'm gonna be real. Like I don't think, now that Mirage has been removed from the league, I don't think any of us are ever going to see our money. Like at least directly. Like there's legal things that will, explore down, if we need to. But like now the argument is like, well, I'm not in the league anymore, so I'm just not going to pay you. So I mean, I don't know. I hope that's not the case, but
yeah.
That was always the risk, right? That was always the thing in the back of my head. Like if I push and he gets ejected from the league, or the org gets removed from the league, then nobody gets their money.
Wow. Those are things to think about. Now my question is, a lot of these players knew this was going on for a long time, and they still sign up.
Yeah.
Now, if I know, okay, I work in the medical field, and I go work on a different hospital, and I work in EKG. I'm dedicated with heart rhythms and all this stuff. If there's employees that are in my same field and they do the same thing from a different organization, tells me, oh, they pay late or they pay horrible, they don't pay on time. You think I'm going to go work for that hospital? Never. I would never do it. I don't care.
Yeah.
So why are these players still signing up and just like, forget it, I don't care. I want to be part of an organization. I don't think they're thinking ahead and saying, hey, wait, if you were having problems and you were having problems and this person was having problems and this person having problems, I'm not going to sign up. But why they do it? They were feeding to the fire. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, for that exact reason we just talked about, right? A lot of these people are playing this game anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them wouldn't be playing in Pro League if it hadn't been for that organization because they got removed from their team or were in the process of transitioning or coming into Pro League themselves or whatever. So in that hospital analogy, let's say that's the only hospital that you can work at.
Oh,
and you know and you know that you're going to get paid or you hope that you're going to get paid, but you're doing the work anyways, but you're not being paid. So it's like and then at the same time you have the owner of that hospital telling you all the stuff that you want to hear, that
correct,
things are going to improve, that this is going to happen, and we got investments lined up, it's not going to be an issue, this is going to be paid, this is going to be taken care of, this is going to be handled, it's going to be different this time, right? But the problem is it's not the same group of guys that he's told that same story to, right? It's a new group until, and human nature is automatically a lot of times to be trusting to some people, especially if somebody's good at talking and making you feel like you're hearing all the stuff you want to hear. And I feel like that's what happened in these situations because I even fell for it for a bit. So it's easy to do.
Yeah. I mean, we remember I was a business owner one time down in Puerto Rico. I owned like this miniature Italian food cart that I had and owned. And I don't know what the owners of Pro League go through, but I know there's other side to the story as well.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to talk to Carl and, just interview him and then ask, see what's going on. Because remember, he has a other load of stuff. Every org has their finance department and they have people that work with their finances and we just don't know what went wrong. Something went wrong that all of a sudden the money wasn't coming in to pay for these players. Because I kind of highly doubt that somebody's going to open up and make an organization in Pro League for not to pay their own players. That doesn't work like that. Probably contracts didn't fill through or something happened that all of a sudden it just spiraled down. I mean, that's what it appears to be. I just don't know. So I usually sometimes you get these companies will say, yeah, we'll go ahead, we'll work a sponsorship out and all this and that. And then after a while, since you're not a top 5 team or you're not winning a lot, they'll probably tend to back off and like, you know what? No, we're not going to do it. And then you'll be like, okay, wait 1 second. You told me last month, yes, but now you're telling me no. And then you got to explain to the players and say, hey guys, this didn't fall through. I don't know. I mean, I'm just speculating what could have went wrong.
Yeah. No, there's obviously always two sides of the story, and you're absolutely right. I don't know the stuff that he was dealing with on a day. I mean, I know what he's told me and through conversations. I have over 14,000 messages between me and him. So we did talk a lot about various stuff throughout the entire time that I was with the organization. And I want to say that I don't think he ever purposely set out to screw people over. I don't think he's that type of
I
person.
agree with you.
And
I feel the same way.
I do think that it got into a position, something happened, and it was like fixing a leaky boat. Like, patch this hole, and then this hole popped up.
Correct.
And it just kept snowballing from there. And I can't say for sure, like, because again, I don't know the whole side of the story. But at some point in that process, you'd have to stop and evaluate, and maybe reconstruct what your plan is, so that you don't keep sinking in that boat. But, and again, it's all stuff. Yeah, we just don't know the whole story on that end. So, I have, professional. I was always professional with him. Even we talked maybe a week ago. He's always been professional with me. It's business at the end of the day, right?
Correct.
But I don't think he set out purposely and said, "Hey, let me find a bunch of group of kids and young adults that I can screw over." So,
I don't think so.
And when I was vocal about what was going on, and I still feel this way, there doesn't need to be hate, and there doesn't need to be negativity and stuff posted around him personally, or his family, or any of that stuff, because that's not the message that I want people to get out there. It needs to be fixed. He needs to correct it. He needs to make it right. But that's not the avenue to get the results that we want. So
that's correct. I believe everything works through love.
Yeah, everybody does things differently, and the internet's a very mean place. And when I made my thing, I asked for people not to be negative, not to make threats, not to do any of that stuff, because I know the nature of how people are sometimes. But that's not going to fix it. That's not the answer.
Yeah, that's so true. That's not gonna resolve. One of the things that kind of like made me feel like, man, this guy really, he cared. Well, apparently, it appears to be allegedly, he refinanced his home. I heard it was a rumor that he refinanced his home to pay up some of these guys. I don't know if this is true or what. But it was something that I heard about, and I just didn't know. I don't know. But I heard he refinanced to pay up a lot of these guys that he owed money way back. If it's true, that says a lot. That takes a lot of guts to do that.
And an understanding wife.
Yeah, and then for your wife not to divorce you after you do that, I mean, wow.
Yeah, I don't. He's not. I can't say he ever said anything like that. So I heard similar rumors, but I don't. Like I said, I didn't get into the whole money side of the back end, other than managing the Rainbow Six team. So
yeah, that like I said, to be a CEO is not easy. A lot of people think is easy, and it's totally not. It is not. You got so much responsibilities. I don't even want to know. Because a lot of these CEOs I try to talk to or even try to bring on to the podcast, they're just like so always busy. I mean, like they work 10 hours a day. When I was part of Wildcard, I said, Ben, you got a moment? He's like, bro, I am like super, super busy. He said, I only have time and the little time I could get during the day is to spend time with my daughter and all this. And I'm like, okay, right. Go for it. Spend time with your family. That comes first, So it's like, it's very, very complicated lifestyle to live, as a CEO or COO. Those positions, I don't even want it. I don't care how good it pays. I don't even want it.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I just feel really bad. I tell people, don't spread hate.
No.
Just be positive. Don't be making threats. His family is not, which organization, whoever owes you money. The families they're not involved in this. Don't do that, so it's not good. And if you do stuff like that, you'll be taken to court and you will lose because there's something called defamation of character and you could lose against that.
Yeah.
And that's some serious, serious stuff. So,
yeah, I'm all for the community standing up for what they think is right in a positive way.
Yeah, stand up for what you feel is right and do it in a positive way, and then you're good to go. You have a right to stand up and for your beliefs.
As a team manager, there was a lot of things that I was frustrated with because I felt like from where I'm sitting, things were simple. Like we had towards the end, we had some people that were maybe owed like Marmalade. I think she's owed like $2,300, and it's like if we're paying out money, like let's pay them out and like wipe it off the slate, because at least then it feels like we're making steps towards accomplishing our goal instead of and I never understood like the reasoning behind not paying off some of these people that were owed less, like smaller amounts of money that should be easy to pay off. But I don't know.
Because then it creates a snowball effect if you don't pay off the small.
Well, if you got 10 people that you've upset because you owe them money, and you can wipe 3 of them off that list for a small amount of money, that's now 7 people that are upset with you instead of 10. So like,
correct.
It just makes everything, it's less negative in the social media aspect. It's less negative. It just shrinks the negativity surrounding the condition down, and we just couldn't seem to get a control of it.
Wow. Now I have a question. Every player that signed up with the org, they do sign an NDA, non-disclosure agreement. Now, my issue that I have with a lot of these players, and it's not only particular with Mirage, is that they tell how much they're getting paid. You're not supposed to disclose that.
Each NDA is going to be different. Like, I can't say that they all say you can't disclose what you're making, but a lot of times it's to do with negatively affecting the organization based on events. That's what our situation was mainly about. But yeah. I mean, you do have some people that don't respect the NDA because of whatever reason, you being inexperienced, being young, being not thinking it's going to matter or it's not going to make a difference or whatever. A lot of people were bound, or they get that NDA thrown at them too when they want to say something because it feels like they can tie their hands with it. So those are tricky. I always tell all these young adults, like, if you don't know, because I'm not a lawyer,
Correct.
I can't read half the crap that that I see in these contracts either. Like, get an attorney, or find a family friend that's an attorney perhaps, and have them to comb through those NDAs, because they are, especially in the bigger eSpace scenes and some of the other bigger aspects of business, like those are pretty big deals.
Yeah, so, it's pretty big deals. That's what my other thing would ask. How can they stand up if they already signed an NDA? How can they stand up and protest and say, hey, this is wrong, they're not paying this amount, what I should have been paid? Because then the question is going to pop up, how much money do they owe you? Would that go against their agreement, etc.? So it's like a tug of war back and forth. You don't know what to say and what to do, and then eventually you're going to have to contact some type of lawyer that could help you out. But I also feel a lot of these organizations also made the mistake of overpaying a lot of these guys. Some orgs pay decent, some pay a lot, some pay little. That's what it appears to be. So, and that causes some conflict with some players, and I won't play with this organization, but I will play with this one. So it just like causes a big turmoil, and people will ask, well, how do you know that how much that one makes? And then, well, so and so told me. Well, oh gosh, there we go.
Yep.
And it just causes a big cluster. I think, in my opinion, what all these owners should get together and say, okay, this is how much we should pay the new guys. This is how much we get pay somebody that's been in for a while, and this is how much a top tier player should get paid. So it won't be all diverse and differently, and one plays other, because then everybody wants to play with that one that pays the most, and it just goes haywire.
It's an interesting conversation because esports is the only place that where you do that. And I had this conversation before. If you look at any other professional sports, LeBron is making a lot more than the guy that's sitting on the bench. He's not making the same.
Correct.
And in esports, a lot of times, the players are paid like a flat rate, whether it be, we'll just say, $3,000 a month. Each player is paid $3,000 a month. They're not given the LeBron of their team $5,000 and the other guys $1,000. I have heard of that happening, but it's not as common, at least in my experience with the Siege stuff. Generally speaking, the players make a flat amount across. Now, I have seen a couple stipulations here and there where I've seen players make a little bit more or have some sort of deal in their contract that's slightly different because they negotiated that. But you don't see that as much, at least in my experience so far with the esports thing. But it could be that way, right? Because if you have a player that's valued or is a huge successful asset for your team, an organization may want to pay that player more to have them play for them. And I'm not saying that that's not happening, because that could be very well. I've only been on the team manager for Mirage, so my scope of sample base is fairly limited. But from what I hear in the other teams and what I hear around the league, that's kind of the standard. But as far as the NDA thing, what I tell a lot of people is usually in the contract. When you're looking at these contracts, somewhere in there's some type of bulletin or topic that talks about termination of the contract and what can cause the termination of the contract and who can terminate it and how you can terminate it. A lot of times in the contract, it'll say in there that if either party isn't holding up their obligations, that they have a right to terminate the contract. So where it gets a little gray is when you terminate that contract because, let's say, the organization isn't holding up their end of the deal by paying you your salary. That voids the NDA because the contract is now void.
Exactly.
So that's the stuff that I tell some of these guys. Look at the contract. Look at like what they expect of you. Look at how you can get out of what's expected to you if you're being taken advantage of.
It's all in the contract, and both parties signed.
Yep. Some people get a little crafty, and they may remove things that are that allow that that person a way out. So
correct. Yeah, they'll make it a way that you can't go nowhere.
Yeah.
So
and again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just always get professional help from an attorney if you're doing anything when it comes to contracts like that. I'm just speaking off of what I've seen in my my short career here.
Crazy. So other than that, with Mirage out of the way now, you're just looking for work, or are you already found something as a manager for another organization or an analyst, or analytics and the Siege has never been my full-time job. So I actually work as a conductor for the railroad. I've been there 20 years. That's my 9 to 5. So. Oh, okay.
So awesome. I work for the railroad. I've been working at the railroad for 20 years now, like I said, and I do the Siege stuff, as a secondary, we'll say hobby.
Okay, just like me.
And so I mean but yeah, I'm still looking for somebody out there if they have a need for an analyst. I have some feelers out and some things in the talks. Nothing's official, nothing's concrete. Hopefully, something pans out. If not, like I said, I'll still be here. I'm still working on my, analytics on the back end. I'm still helping out the people that have come to me that look for help here and there, and I still want to, be in the community and come out to the events when we can and all that stuff. So I'll still be around whether I'm in it or not. So
that's good. I mean, I'm the same way. I have my not 9 to 5. I work 12-hour shifts, but 3 days a week, and I just do this for a hobby. I do it because I'm passionate. I love gaming, and I love to reach out and explore and talk to other people and get to know about their life and how they ended up in gaming. And it's very interesting. It's very, very fun. I really like it. I started streaming, and then from that, I just like, streaming is not for me, and let me just go to podcasting, and that's where I kind of like, okay, I like this.
Right.
This is pretty neat. Now I know why Joe Rogan does it, and a lot of these people, you know,
Right.
they just it's really cool. It's really fun. It's nice. So now you have an interesting story about your life. I think you told me something about you went through some surgery or something. Care to share about that?
Yeah, back in 2017, I got diagnosed with breast cancer. Some people in the community know about it. Maybe not everybody does. I believe at the time I was just taking over when CCS Esports was still around. I was going to be doing all of their analytics for their upcoming league. And then I found out about this, and I kind of had to step away to take care of my health. And when so I mean, but when I came back and I started to go through the process of the healing, I wasn't working because I was going through chemo and I was going through other stuff like that, and I wasn't able to work. So I turned to analytics again, and the computer is an escape to deal with what I was going through in life, and a way to kind of keep my mind off of it and try to put some energy into something positive and to build something. So Siege was that tool for me at that point in my life. So I was also right at the end of my 19-year relationship, 17-and-a-half-year marriage. So that was coming to an end in the process of going through the cancer at the same time. So that was
That's tough.
That was rough. That was difficult. So, so that was a really testing part of my life. But Siege, the community, the game itself, the love for the data. I know that sounds weird, but just the love, was something that kind of kept me just pushing forward. And obviously my kids, of course, you're not going to give up, and you just everyday life. But that was my escape. That was the way I kind of coped.
Well, of course. I mean, your support was your wife, and she all of a sudden left you at that moment that you most needed her.
Well, she was there. It was like right at the tail end of our thing. She was supportive, and we're still, obviously we have 4 kids together, so there's still a relationship there. But it was, I could tell that it was done. Like, so she was there because, she's not a heartless person, but she was checked out, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Emotionally checked out of the marriage at that point. So.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough because a lot of people don't know. Just only like a handful, I think 3 people, now you and now the world's going to know. I'm dealing with a tumor in my kidney that they found 2 years ago. It hasn't progressed, hasn't grown, and it's still the same size, but it's when they did an MRI, they checked and they noticed it's getting harder. So the doctor said, I want to remove it. Get it out of your body. Said you don't have to go through chemo, no radiation, because it's in one location. So he says, I take it out, you're done. You're cancer free, and then you're good to go. I'm going to tell you what, when I found out that I had something, that it was malignant, it is a stage 1, but still, it's not a good one. It's a bad cancer. I felt that ice bucket, whatever they call it, you feel that, oh gosh. And my question I asked, first question, did it spread out? Is this all over the body? Because this is what I don't want. And he goes, no, everything is good. It's not spread out. You're good to go. So he said, we caught this very, very early. And the way it was caught, it was very interesting. I went to go get something to drink at Tropical Smoothie. It's this green drink that I always take. Never had an issue. but it has spinach and everything on it. And all of a sudden I felt the stomach pain. It felt like it was burning, like burning. I told my wife, it's to the point I need to go to the ER.
Wow.
Took me to the ER. The doctor saw me. He says, you need some morphine. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, I need to give you some morphine. So he gave me morphine. Then they put me on a CAT scan. And he says, listen, your stomach has some type of reaction. What you drank, everything's okay. I'm going to give you this medication. It's going to, little by little, it's going to ease the acids that you got in your stomach, and you should be good to go. But while looking, I see this cyst there on one of your kidneys. I'm like, a cyst? He goes, yeah, you should get it checked out. You need to go see a specialist. I'm like, okay. So when I went to go see a specialist, he looked at it. He goes, listen, for now it's non-benign. I'm like, okay, good. He says, but we have to keep an eye on it, because if it start getting solid, we're going to have to get it removed. So if it wasn't for that incident that happened, I would have never known till today. I wouldn't even know, because I have no pain, no blood in the urine like they asked. Do you have blood in your urine? Are you having any back pains or any type of pains at all? I go, no. I would have never known.
Right.
So luckily, thank God that I was able to catch it on time, and now it's going to be removed next week. So
yeah, that's good.
How do you find out yours? How was it that you knew that you had something wrong? Was it you were feeling pains, or what was it?
No, I used to be pretty heavy. I think at my heaviest I was like 305 pounds. So I was big. I was a big dude. And back in 2015-ish or somewhere in there, I had weight loss surgery. I had the gastric sleeve done, which I got down to 165 pounds from 305. So
wow,
big weight loss. When I lost that weight, obviously you start to have loose skin, right? Because you were big before and now you're smaller, so that your skin doesn't always, especially as you get older, doesn't always stretch back to where it was. So just in losing that weight, I had noticed what I felt like was a lump up in my right side of my, right above my boob, I guess you'd call it. I don't know.
Your chest, yeah.
Right? Yeah. And it didn't feel right. And I've had a cyst in my back before, so I kind of felt like maybe it's a cyst, but I was just like, I don't know what this is. And it's, you always hear it, like lumps, get them checked out. They're not, don't, time is everything when it comes to dealing with potential cancer, so, my ex-wife was a nurse, so I had her look at it, and she's like, yeah, let's go get that looked at. And so we went to the doctor and made an appointment and started the process of, they looked at it and they're like, let's do ultrasound. Turned into a biopsy, turned into cancer. Because breast cancer in males is not, it's not very common. It's like one in 1,000, I think, is the number. Whereas I think women's like 1 in 7. So but it is a thing, and it can happen. And it's actually, they thought for a long time more fatal in men than it is women. And they've come out since then and they've adjusted that thought process. And it's not that it's any more deadlier than women. It's just that men don't get it diagnosed because they don't check for it. It's not something they scan for. So when men find out they have breast cancer, it's usually at a later stage. And that's why it seemed like it was more fatal, because it generally kills men because they don't find out about it till it's too late, or that it's, spread or something else. So I found out, I think in my area, I was the youngest male breast cancer patient by like 12 years. So I had my treatment at UCLA because I'm here in Southern California. So I went to UCLA, and I want to say even at UCLA, they were, because that's a teaching hospital. So when I went in and I had the consult and they confirmed everything, I walked in, it was like a press conference. It was the weirdest thing. There was like 5 doctors sitting at a table, all reading with microphones and recorders and taking notes, and wanted to know everything about how I found it, because they could not understand how at the time, 40s, I think I was 41, found breast cancer. Like it just baffled them. So they wanted to know what made me look. Why did I get it checked? Because it's so out of the norm, they said. So I had surgery to have it removed. They did a full mastectomy on that side, just, same surgery they do for women. Unfortunately, they don't give men their nipple back though, like they do for women. So they don't offer any kind of reconstruction surgery for men. It was really weird because the best way I could explain it is there was a guy that wrote a book or wrote a big article about it. It was called Being Blue in a Pink World, because it's predominantly a woman's disease. So as a man going through that, everything, even the rooms, you go into the waiting rooms, they're all pink and they're all like, decorated towards, women and because, so it's really odd. It's transitioning more as it's becoming more, it's getting diagnosed more and people are catching it more. So, but it was really weird. I went through 4 rounds of chemo.
Even though they removed it, it wasn't localized. They had to give you chemo for it.
They didn't have to give me chemo from it. So I went, like I said, I did my treatment at UCLA. I met with the UCLA oncologist. They removed the tumor, and they also removed lymph nodes from that side of my body underneath my armpit. And the lymph nodes came back clean, which is good. And the margins around the tumor came back clean, which means that they were pretty confident they got it out. So the way that the oncologist explained it to me is like, hey, if you were 70, I would tell you, go live out your life. Don't worry about chemo. You're good. But you're 40. You have half a life to live still. And he felt you have so many cards to leave on the table as far as life goes, that you're strong enough to get through the chemo, but we are going to not guarantee, but we're going to make really confident that if there's any of those cancers, because when they cut the tumor out, there's a chance that those cells get released into your body. They can attach. So the whole concept is we're going to use this as a treatment method, not so much like as a cure, but we're going to just use it as another way to attack it to make sure that we've gotten it all. So ultimately I decided, he says, it's up to you, and he's like, but this is my recommendation. And so I elected to do it. And it was the hardest thing that I've ever put my body through. So it is not a joke. So it is crazy, the amount of the side effects and just the way you feel and everything. It was rough. And I only did 4 rounds. So.
Wow. I hear like it burns your body inside.
It's essentially like poisoning your body, right? You're killing all your cells, good and bad. And I had massive joint pain in my, almost like if you ever had shin splints when you're running. The best way I can explain is like if you're having shin splints and then somebody decided to come up and hit you with a wrench. So like the bone pain, I had really bad bone pain. Everybody's side effects are different. I didn't have nausea. Everything tasted like dirty money in my mouth, so nothing tasted good when you would eat. The only 2 things that tasted good was cheddar cheese and caramel. The only 2 things I could taste, and I have no idea why.
That is weird.
Everything else tasted like pennies. So
wow.
I had the oncologist also said that I would be probably test positive for the genes, for having the genetic coding for breast cancer for the genes. So they did a genetic test because I have 3 daughters and then I have my son. So I have 4 kids. And he essentially said, you're probably going to test, you're probably going to have the gene, the BRCA gene. The results came back and he called me and said, well, I don't know why you got breast cancer because you don't have the gene. You did not test positive for the gene. So,
thank God.
That's good for my kids because if I have the gene, then there's a 50% chance that they have the gene. The negative is I said, well, what does that mean? And he goes, well, I don't know. It could possibly mean that you have a gene that we haven't discovered yet. So UCLA asked for all of my medical information because they wanted to basically study the the cancer that they removed from me, and maybe hopefully down the road they find something in there that can help them cure other people, or identify what's causing it. But that changed my odds from 1 in 1,000 in men to 1 in 100,000 in men, because one man in 100,000 gets breast cancer without that gene, which is crazy when you think about it.
Crazy.
Like, why couldn't I win the lottery?
Wow. Well, what gets me kind of scared in your situation is that when you have all these doctors talking to you about your case, you're like, okay, wait 1 second. Now you're freaking me out, because you're dealing with something that you don't know or you haven't heard of. And that's the part that's kind of freaky.
Yeah.
Because you're like the first person to have something that they just discovered, and they don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And but man that has breast cancer in the past, it's been out. It's just you just don't hear it as much.
Not in men.
Not in men. You don't hear it as much in men, but it has happened. But it's really how can you put it? It's like very challenging, but at the same time, it's like you feel that fear, like, okay, what's going on? Because you just don't know, and the doctors don't even know, and then you know less because you're not a doctor. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
what are we dealing with here? And they're like, well, we're just going to keep on testing you, and we want to find out what's going on. And that's happened with all this. There's a very rare skin disease that just like basically melts your skin. It's like really, really weird. And that type of case, you don't see it as much, but it attacks people in their armpits, and you'll see it's just like melting. It's like leprosy. Yeah, It's really crazy. You don't hear it as much, but it does happen. And then, when a patient comes in and, they're trying to check on them, tons of doctors are there just asking tons of questions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel you, man. My grandma had breast cancer, and she fought it. She did good. She was able to do only 1 or 2 treatments of chemo. She said that was something like, she said that was hell. She said, I can't take that no more.
Yeah.
So she went back to Puerto Rico, and what's really strange, the doctor told me that she could only live for, they told me, listen, spend as much time you can. I'm only going to give her like 1.5 years. I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah, because she hasn't finished all her chemos.
Right.
I'm like, okay. So she went back to the island. She went back to Puerto Rico, where I'm from, and she went to go to this health food, and she says, what the heck? If I'm going to die, let me die trying something else, something different. So she got into this organic and all natural remedies and stuff like that. And she found these pills or something. It's like basically a natural chemo, but the bottles were like $400 each.
Wow.
And they were very expensive. And we said, are you sure that's going to work? Because, that stuff is not FDA approved. And
Right.
And she's like, what the heck? I'm going to pass away, but let me at least try. Okay. So she tried. 18 years later, she passed away.
Wow. Good for her.
18 years later. She didn't die because of the breast cancer. She died of natural causes, She just passed away. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard of people having success with those the diets and stuff like that. So
it's special. That's how I think, if I'm not mistaken, how the keto came about as well, because cancer lives off sugar.
Yeah, cancer is attracted to sugar.
So what they do is they starve it to death. You starve the cancer to death, so no sugar, and then it just basically it dies out. But that's something like that doesn't work on every patient. That's for your doctor.
Right.
Tell people, ask your doctor. Don't go by what I'm saying or what, because it's stuff that I read online and stuff that I see. But just ask your professional doctor, and they will tell you what to do, what type of diet you should do if you're going through cancer or something like that.
Yeah, and everybody out there, we all have had somebody that's been affected with or affected us personally, or we've lost somebody. Cancer is it's not a fun disease. So
it is not. It's really scary because it's not something that you could just like, okay, they already know what to do. Take this medication and here in a couple of months you'll be okay.
Yeah. My mom's dealing with that right now herself. So she was diagnosed with lung cancer. She's in the middle of her fight right now. So.
Oh gosh. Jeez. That's gotta be tough. Is she a smoker or a non-smoker?
She is a smoker. So she's been a smoker since she was 16. My mom's pretty young too. I'm 47 and my mom she's 16 years older than me. She had me when she was 16. So
okay. She's young.
She's fairly young, but yeah, she's been a smoker since for a long time and so she's in the middle of her battle right now. So she had surgery to have what she could have removed, and I think they're probably going to be doing chemo next. So
I wish her the best, and we'll be praying for her because we're all in this together, and it's not easy. None of your mom, going through that, so they might be taking a portion out of her lungs. Has she quit smoking definitely now, or?
Yeah, she quit smoking. They removed the lobe of her lung that had the cancer attached to it, and
okay,
they did all the preliminary tests to make sure that she could survive without that portion of her lung, and obviously there's going to be an adjustment period, so she's going through that now, and then I believe her next steps are going to be chemo. So
okay. Well, at least they got that part out. That's what's important. Get that out of her system. She doesn't need it. Get that out. So you're going through a lot, brother.
Yeah. It's that's life. Everybody's going through a lot, right? Everybody's out there's got. You never know what everybody else got on their plate. So.
Yeah, a lot of people are going through. This is why a lot of people are like, oh, money. This I'm going through financial difficulties, and I'm going through this, and I said, or I'm going through a heartbreak. I go, listen, you're not going through nothing. You want to know what's really big? Okay, come to the hospital with me, and let me see if money is worth it.
Right.
I know people that were millionaires in a hospital, and when they hit that bed. And they're in that room, they don't care about money. There was a patient once, not where I work at, but at another location, said, I'm willing to give the millions of dollars that I have in my bank account, but please take this out of my body.
Right.
And that's tough to hear.
Oh, yeah.
When you hear that, it's like, wow. Because right then and there, you just notice that money is not important. Yes, money is a necessity, but that's not going to resolve your issues.
There's only so many things that money can buy,
Yep, so many things it could just buy, but health is so important. That's why I tell people that health is like the number one. You want you to be healthy. You want your kids to be healthy. You want, that's all I ask for. My kids to be healthy and me to be healthy, to spend time, be with my kids and enjoy every moment of it.
Right.
This is why gaming and stuff like that, this is secondary. This is just a hobby, and I don't even know how long I'm going to be doing this. I do love flying. I'm a diehard flight simulator guy. Sometimes I just don't want to play. I don't want to deal with nothing. I just go on a flight. I just get on a small Cessna and just fly. It's very therapeutic. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's nice. Now, do you do anything out of the scopes of gaming? You any hobbies? Any golfing or?
Yeah. I wouldn't call it a hobby, but it is a hobby. But the other thing is, candles. Me and my daughters, we make candles and wax melts. So
Oh, really?
something kind of completely different than tech. We just, handcraft candles and wax melts and learning the science behind that, because believe it or not, there is a lot of science behind it.
Yes.
And, trying to possibly turn that into something that can, put some finances in the bank if it goes that way. But
helps out.
It's a long process, because the perfectionist in me doesn't want to put out products that I don't fully believe in yet. So there's a lot of testing. So,
my wife has just got into soap making. Oh,
yeah,
my
mom makes soap, actually.
Oh, really? She makes homemade soap?
She makes soap, yeah.
Oh, God. And my wife is a nurse. So, it's like it's in the family. My mom's a nurse and my wife's a nurse. So my wife finally discovered this hobby through a friend, would be bringing homemade soap at her work. And then my wife's like, I want to give this a try. And oh my gosh, she got hooked on it. So sometimes she comes home like super stressed. And I know what she's going through. Because, we work in the same field. And I just tell her, honey, just go do some soap. Go. Can I? Yeah, go. Yeah. I'll take care of dinner. I'll take care of all this stuff. Just do your thing. And she could just be there for hours, and there's so much stuff. I'm like, oh my God, how many oils do you need? Oh, I need sesame oil. I need this oil. I need avocado oil. I say, what?
As I look over to my closet full of fragrance oils.
Yeah, she got boxes of, oh my gosh.
Yep.
And it's like crazy of all the stuff and steps, and she has to jot everything down because each soap is different, has a different chemistry to it. I'm like, gosh. So you're gonna be a Martha Stewart here in a week.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of science that goes into it. So
yeah, a lot of science. But it's the good thing is you're doing your thing, the candles with your daughter, and that's the most important thing, just spending time with them, with your daughters, and having fun. Get yourself out of game.
And I'm hoping that I teach them some, life lessons too that they can apply later. So
yeah. Well, brother, I know time is of essence, and I know you got a lot of things on your plate and you're very busy. I want to thank you for coming on, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate anybody that listens to the podcast that wants to take a peek at a little bit of my life, or at all curious. That's flattering in itself. So it humbles me that people are interested or want to know. So
yeah. Now you're not with an organization, so I always give everybody like a second or two or a minute, whatever, to take time to let everybody where they could follow you, where they could find you, so you could give out your info to whoever's listening to, if they want to reach out to you or anything.
Yeah, so on X, I'm at HaveDNA. That's where most of the esports stuff is there. If the candle thing is interesting to you, there's a website up. It's beautifulchaos.com, ITS, just like it sounds. And people that want to reach out, even if it's people that are wanting to get into analytics or curious about analytics or want help with something they're working on analytics, they can message me on X, and I generally respond to everybody that messages me at some point. Like, it may not be instantly, but I will respond. So if somebody's looking for help or looking for whatever, I'll offer what I can. That's pretty much all I got. So just those two avenues. So.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, folks. Don't forget to follow him on Twitter /X. I know some people still got it twisted. So just don't forget to follow him. Really nice guy. It was a true pleasure and honor for you being on the show. Trust me, I truly enjoyed it. I just didn't want to be dealing so much about the orgs and all this stuff. Talk about different stuff. We need some positive stuff out there and not so much negative, and make a difference.
At the end of the day, all you can do is try to be better than you were the day before. That's it.
Amen. Amen to that. Okay. Well, thank you, DNA. Thank you so much. Okay, folks, is that time. Till next time, everyone, I wish you the best. God bless you. Take care. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the DrVtach Show. And don't forget to follow and give 5-star rating